Last week, a water bottle broke the internet, or it broke LinkedIn at least. A limited edition collection from CamelBak and Crayola. Bottles shaped and colored like classic Crayola crayons, right down to the lid design to mimic the crayon tip. It went absolutely viral. A fashion account on X called Outlander Magazine posted it on June 8th and it racked up 9.5 million views. LinkedIn exploded after that. Design professionals were sharing it, marketing people were sharing it, and then licensing people were sharing it too, partly with pride, but partly for another reason. And that's something I want to get to today. Here's what you may not know about this one. The product wasn't new. It launched in November 2025, 7 months ago, positioned as a holiday gift available exclusively on Amazon. And for 7 months, almost nobody outside the licensing world said a word about it. Then one day in June, the internet discovered it. Why now? Honestly, I don't know. I've looked into it and I can't give you a clean answer. Something started to build around June 6th on Threads. The Outlander post hit on June 8th and clearly poured fuel on it. But whether that was the spark or just accelerant, I genuinely can't say. What I can tell you is that once it started spreading on LinkedIn, it became one of those things where everyone wanted to weigh in. Design people, marketing people, brand strategists, and then it became the thing to post about, which made more people post about it, which made it even more the thing to post about. And you know how it goes, it never ends. And through all of that, one word was almost entirely absent from the conversation. And that word was licensing. And that's what I want to talk about today. I'm David Bourne, and this is Born to License. So let me give you the full picture because the context of this is important. CamelBak and Crayola launched a limited edition drinkware collection. The bottles come in fan favorite Crayola colors. Vivid, unapologetic, exactly what you'd expect from a brand that has been inspiring creativity since 1903. The standout detail is a lid shaped as a nod to the classic Crayola crayon tip. It could be considered a small design decision, but it does a huge amount of work. For this reason, this isn't a logo slapped on a generic product. The actual form of the crayon is carried through into the product. It's the kind of design that you understand instantly, emotionally, before you've consciously processed what you're looking at. And that's probably why it spread the way that it did. The image does all the work for you. You don't need a caption, you don't need content, you just see it and you feel something. Nostalgia, delight, surprise. You want to show it to someone. Now, one of the LinkedIn posts that stopped me in my tracks came from John Evans, who some of you may know as the host of the Uncensored CMO podcast, and a show I respect. And John is someone with serious marketing experience and a large audience. His post was genuinely enthusiastic. He talked about the power of combining distinctive brand assets. He talked about how instantly viral the image was. He called it genius, and at one point he asked, why don't more brands do this? I had to respond, because the honest answer is they do, and this is what I wrote on LinkedIn. I'll paraphrase it here. What you're looking at is a licensed product, the result of a licensing deal where Crayola, as the licensor, granted CamelBak the right to use its brand, its colors, its iconic crayon design in a new product category. CamelBak, as the licensee, took the license and built something genuinely great with it. There was a licensing team on the Crayola side who made this happen, managing the negotiation, the contract drafting, the product development process and approvals, the marketing and PR approvals, the ongoing management, including royalty reporting and other compliance-related things. This didn't just fall out of the sky. A relationship was built and the typical licensing process followed, and that made it possible. And importantly, it happens every single day. Licensing is a $380 billion global industry. The products you carry, the clothes your kids wear, the food in your fridge, enormous amounts of that are a result of licensing deals. Disney, Warner Brothers, Hasbro, Mattel, Universal, these companies are licensing machines, but entertainment is only 41% of all of licensing. There are a lot of other companies that license their IP out. The deals are constant, the products are everywhere, they are quite literally all around you. Tens of thousands of companies around the world develop licensed products every year, from global manufacturers to small regional businesses you've never heard of. The reason I got into this industry and the reason I've stayed for nearly 20 years is because I genuinely believe it's one of the most creative, commercially powerful forces in the consumer products world, and almost nobody outside of it knows it exists. Now, I want to go a layer deeper, because this isn't the first time this has happened, and it certainly won't be the last. Think about the Barbie movie in 2023, the most sophisticated, multi-layered licensing campaign many of us had ever seen. That, combined with some amazing partnerships, saw pink Airbnb dream houses, Burger King turning their food pink, Xbox limited editions, Gap collections. Marketers were calling it a masterclass in brand partnerships, and they weren't wrong. But inside the licensing industry, we knew exactly what it was. It was Mattel executing an extraordinary licensing strategy around a theatrical release, with one of the best licensing teams in the business firing on all cylinders. The world talked about Barbie. We talked about licensing. Two completely different conversations about the same thing. But there's a pattern here. A licensed product crosses out of our world and into the mainstream. The internet reacts. Commentary floods in. People talk about brand partnerships, collabs, genius marketing. And the word licensing, the actual mechanism that made it possible, doesn't appear once. I've been thinking about why, and I think there are a few things going on. First, the word itself. Licensing is industry language. It's precise and commercial, and it means something specific to us licensing people that live and breathe licensing every day. But to someone outside this world, it might sound a little dry. It might sound like terms and conditions. It doesn't sound like a water bottle that made tens of millions of people stop scrolling. The mainstream press calls these deals collabs. They call them brand partnerships. All of those phrases are closer to the emotional experience of seeing the product. And in a world driven by emotional response, that really matters. Second, and this is a lot harder to sit with, I personally think our industry hasn't always done the greatest job of telling its own story. We are very good at communicating within our four walls, but the story of what licensing is, why it matters, and what makes it possible, that story hasn't been told loudly enough or in the right places. Now, I want to come back to something because I think it's actually the most interesting part of this whole story. The Crayola and CamelBak range launched in November last year. It went viral a few weeks ago. 7 months later. What does that tell us? Well, to me, it says that the product always had it in it. The design was always going to do this to people. The viral moment wasn't created by a campaign or a media buy or a clever seeding strategy. It was dormant, sitting on Amazon quietly selling until the right person in the right community posted it to the right audience at the right moment. And then it exploded. That's both exciting and a little uncomfortable if you're a brand or licensing professional, because it means the work you do, the deals you negotiate, the products you develop can have a life that you didn't necessarily plan for and can't fully control. Sometimes the moment finds the product, not the other way around. And it raises a question I don't have an answer to. If they've got the product into the hands of the right creators in the right communities, could they have manufactured this moment 7 months earlier? Maybe, but maybe the organic, accidental nature of how it spread is actually part of what made it feel so genuine. People weren't being sold to, they were discovering something themselves. There's a lesson in there somewhere for how our industry thinks about product launches, but I'll leave that with you. So what do I actually want from this episode? Partly I just want to say it out loud, to give this moment the context it deserves, because the Crayola and CamelBak collection is brilliant and it is licensing, and those two things are not separate. But more than that, I want to put a question in your mind, especially if you're a licensing professional listening to this. How do you explain what you do? Not to a client or a licensor, to someone at a dinner party, to a journalist who just wrote a glowing piece about a viral brand collab without mentioning the word licensing once. Because every time one of our products breaks out of our industry and captures the world's attention, and people don't connect it with licensing, that's on us as much as anyone else. And the more of us who can answer that question clearly, confidently, and in language that actually lands, the better this industry gets at telling its own story. So that's all for now. A lot to think about. I'll speak to you next week. I'm David Bourne, and this is Born to License.